Hi, my name is Katie Melko. Get ready for your unofficial dental hygiene podcast.
These are the tales of two hygienists, one East Coast RDH and one West Coast hygienist. Listen as they tackle the profession of dental hygiene with humor and enthusiasm. Now, please join Michelle Strange and Andrew Johnston as they tell you a tale of two hygienists. Welcome to episode 93. I was told to bring this one in with some enthusiasm, and I hope that works for you, Andrew.
Yeah, but also we're a Tale of Two Hygienists podcast.
Okay, sorry.
And my name's Andrew.
I can't win them all. And I'm Michelle.
Gosh, we were just so close.
We're so close. We're never going to be on. If that day happens, we're probably going to break the internet or something.
Yeah, maybe, you know what? This is what we'll do for you guys. Episode 100, we're going to nail it.
We're getting so close.
I feel like we should do something special for episode 100.
Like, remember what episode it is and be on
I remember what episode it is every time. Except for there's a streak of about 10 episodes in a row that I just couldn't remember. But I have it on the saved right now, episode 93, Andrew's audio track. And I'm sending that to you after this is done. Boom.
Yep.
Boom.
So, this weekend, what?
Well, I think before we start off, we should express our sincere condolences to the people of Las Vegas and that tragic shooting.
Totally. Good call.
How crappy that is. And I think, speaking for both Michelle and I, everyone just be cool, love each other, support each other, and let's not let the hatred and ugliness of this world get us down, and let's not be a part of it.
It's pretty awful. And I also want to say, thoughts and prayers to people in Puerto Rico. I keep reading more and more. Those people are sick and can't get medication, can't get food, can't get medical care. It's insane right now.
It's a weird world we live in, but gosh, we got to be fighters. We got to fight through it and try and help each other, though.
But you know what makes these moments in our country make me think of is they're getting more frequent, but really compared to other countries, they're few and far between.
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine if this was a weekly thing for us? This is what was our life.
It's like you read my mind sometimes, because I was thinking about that today. I was like, it's terrible, but can you imagine being somewhere where there's a really oppressive regime and you literally are scared to walk to the store and get some bread or whatever because you think that you're going to get shot, or you think you're going to get beat or kidnapped and sold or what? I mean, there's a lot of just scary things that happen in other parts of the world. We're very lucky to live in the United States.
Absolutely. And especially with traveling and going to other countries where we can witness just a very different culture than what we're used to. I just said over the weekend to my friend that we would come back and it was all the fall, pumpkin patch stuff and corn mazes. And they're like, do you want to go do this? I was like, not really. Done it once, done it 100 times. I just sometimes when I travel a lot and I get ready to go to other countries or I come back from other countries, everything here seems so basic and mediocre. And I hate it.
Here?
And yes.
We can't all live the lavish lifestyle of traveling
No. I don't mean travel going to New York and Chicago. I'm talking when I go to Uganda and Nicaragua, their life problems and the things that they don't have and what they struggle with. You come back and everybody's oh my God, what are we going to do this weekend? Let's go do the pumpkin. I'm like, God, y'all are so basic. But then I remember not everyone has those experiences and whatever, but just a lot of that has been kind of in the back of my head just in the last week. I don't know why. And then this happened, and just thinking about all the other people in all the other countries that struggle with killings and suicide bombers and things like that all the time. It makes you put things in perspective.
It really does.
When someone doesn't clean out your instruments from the sink, it's really not that big of a deal.
Yeah, that's
right.
Way to loop it back to dentistry. Way to be. You're gonna say something about this weekend, though.
So met our listeners. Remember the 2 young hygienists just graduated, wanted to know what we would put in ops if we had the chance. I met
we didn't
them.
get back to them for like ever.
I apologize to them.
Were they mad?
We're so sorry, Micah and Alexis, who are enjoying being RDHs and love their new office and love their new dentist that they're working with. It's so great to hear that. They were at the South Carolina State Dental Hygiene Association meeting, which is where I was this
Very
weekend.
nice. And so what did they end up getting? Did they say?
We didn't go into like all the little items, but they were just really happy that they loved our suggestions. They were still very appreciative of them, even though they were late to the game.
So but they are Micah and Alexis?
Yes.
Maybe if you two would probably want to be on the show and let us know kind of how that's going, that'd be really cool.
Yeah,
And
that'd be great.
Thing. We said this before. You don't have to have fancy anything, but open up your voice recording app on an iPhone or whatever. Tell us how it's going. Send it to Michelle, and we'll put it on the show.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really cool.
That would be awesome. I said it last week in the last show. I love when you guys come up and say hi and introduce yourselves. It's really just really fun for us, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I was there this weekend with Andy RDH. We were booth buddies next door to each other. He was selling all his swag. I currently have a T-shirt that says, the one that you might see everywhere that says, like, warning, I may start talking about teeth at any time.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw it was posted this weekend, too.
Yep, got that one. So that was really fun. And I was there with Angie Stone.
Yay, Angie.
Who is so amazing. I'm telling you, I would not want to be the speaker that goes on after her.
Mm-mm. You can't compete.
No, because she's passionate. She knows her stuff. She's animated. She's captivating. And her message is so powerful. And actually, oh gosh darn it, my phone is upstairs. Because I was going to tell you a little bit of some of the few things that I was like taking snapshots of within her presentation. It was just mind blowing, the statistics and the little details. And there were so many good little pearls. Like, so if you're seeing any kind of geriatric population within your practice, you have got to take either one of her courses or read her book, Dying from Dirty Teeth, because there were things like, you ever had that patient that came in and they needed to update their medication list and they were like, no, I don't know what they are. My daughter has that.
Yeah.
My daughter does all that.
Yeah.
Or I'm not going to pay, my daughter pays or my son pays or something like that. Like that's kind of a cue to really start paying attention because they're losing their like kind of everyday duties. And that's when things with home care start going to the wayside. So it was just like all these amazing pearls that came, and we've had Angie on before, but I don't think we've gone into those little things before. It was just fascinating. It was such a good, and she did it like a whole 6-hour CE course.
Wow.
Spoke the day, like lunch in between.
Good for
She's
her.
a rock star. Yes. I'm so happy. Okay. So she didn't talks about, do you listen to A Tale of Two Hygienists? Michelle's at the Tepe booth. 2 people raised their hand in the audience because good old South Carolina does not give a crap about our podcast.
That's funny.
Yeah, she came up to me. She's like, Michelle, what's going on? I was like, girl, I know. I don't get it either. But I mean, I do get it because you're always a nobody in your back.
Get with it.
You're always a nobody in your backyard, though.
Right. That's what I feel too.
So,
we had Elijah come out this weekend to Portland, or maybe it was last week during the week. Anyway, and it was a decent. It's like study club type size, of stuff around here. We have so many study clubs around here. It's ridiculous. And I felt bad because he wanted me to tell my friends. I'm like, what friends? Like I have my coworkers inside my office, but like I don't know anybody around this area, the Vancouver, Portland area. Like I have more or less 0 friends. So sorry, buddy.
Well, it was kind of funny because I've kind of realized the same thing. Like, I have more dental hygiene friends outside of the state.
Oh, yeah.
Like people that I would call. No, I mean, I have a handful here, but people that I would just be like, hey, what do you think about this? Or have you experienced this? Or have you read this? Like, everyone is outside of the state. Means I probably should be, I don't know, networking or something in my state.
You're never home, though. That's kind of a problem.
That is the truth. That is the truth. But really great weekend. And I presented, hopefully we got some new listeners. I presented my implant maintenance course to a study club in White Plains, New York.
Nice.
It was dentists and hygienists that attended. I was really excited about that. Really great turnout, and everyone was just... You can tell when people are like engaged and they were excited to learn, and so I had a great time with them. Great. It was it was the New York Oral Maxillofacial and Implant Surgery offices, that their study club that they put on, which I think is so valuable to have your teams and your referring doctors to come to these meetings. So good time there.
Well, we have an interview.
We do.
We have a good interview.
With some of our favorites.
Yes.
Yeah. So with Trisha O'Hare and Tim Ives, right? Ives. I wanted to say Ivy for a second. Ives.
Oh.
I always mess up names, and I'm so sorry. Like, this should be understood.
Be confident. Power through it. You'll be all right. Tim Ives.
Yeah. Tim Ives.
Nice.
They have O'Hare University. We talk a lot about, the degree completion program. And I mean, we always talk about how ridiculous it is that we get an associate's degree for the gazillion credit hours that we actually obtain in the dental hygiene programs. And we even talk about some of the controversy that it kind of goes with the O'Hare University, because you will hear some skeptical things out there as well. So we talk about all that. We love Trisha.
They're both
really
just some
loved
of the
him.
nicest people you'll ever meet, and very genuine, very loving. I feel, and Trisha and I go back longer than you and I actually go back. We went back to the Hygiene Town days, and I've said this before about her. She is just very helpful, and I'm still a nobody, and she still makes time for me. So, if you just have questions, like, they'll answer them. It doesn't matter who you are.
Well, that's fantastic. The thing is, they don't see a hierarchy within our profession. Like, you got your speakers, you got your top people, you got your leaders, your movers and shakers. Like, they don't see that, and it's so couldn't be more helpful.
Yeah,
really.
They really care about our education. They really care about, allowing us to utilize every little talent and gift that we have. And you guys will hear that coming up on the interview. So we really hope you guys enjoy this interview. Hey, Michelle.
Yeah.
It's time for the interview.
Oh, but I had something else to say.
We need to let the experts talk now.
Fine.
All right. So, okay, we have another interview. We're still RDH under one roof.
You're going to hear
still
that a lot.
Day 2.
Next few weeks.
We're just going to
RDH.
move on to the interview part of it.
Yep.
Because I'm sure they're tired of hearing us say that. It's number 6? 5?
4 for the day.
For the day, so 6 total.
Yeah.
Wow, you guys are busy.
Yeah.
He's trying to kill me at these meetings.
I do my best. So when Michelle dies, though, I mean, Tim, if you want to tell 2 hygienists, it's going to be across the pond?
Across the pond.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you'll have to come join me. But we have 2 amazing guests. I'll let them introduce themselves.
Yes.
But one is a recurring guest, and I'm very excited that she's back. Episode number 2, but like the first interview.
The first interview.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you guys will introduce
We still
yourselves,
appreciate you taking a chance on
that'd be great. I know.
Too amateur.
I can't believe you did. I still can't believe you did that.
Two baby hygienists.
2 little
Yeah.
baby hygienists.
I love to
Baby
see.
podcasters.
I like baby hygienists, baby podcasters who have new ideas and want to do something different for the profession. I was excited and very proud to be one of your first interviews. I'm Trisha O'Hare, by the way, and it's 50 years that I've been a hygienist. Can you believe that?
Wow.
Is this the year of celebration for you?
Yeah, this is the 50th year.
This is crazy.
That's
I feel
awesome.
like we should give an award.
I started
or something
hygiene
like
when I was in second grade.
That's what I was thinking. I was trying to do math on that.
that. In the womb still.
Yes, even still.
And
You brought it along with you.
I brought along a good friend and colleague.
Hi folks, I'm Tim Ives. I've come from UK.
they
All
couldn't
the
hear
way.
that at all.
Couldn't
You
they?
sound like an American right now.
Do I?
Wait, yeah. Say it one more time in a real
I
accent.
keep getting told walking around here that I love your accent. I love your accent. But the truth is, I haven't got an accent. You guys have got the accent.
Right?
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Because we came from over there. Is that what happens? Get him and Linda on the same
I know.
podcast. You guys
we
know
were
Linda.
with Linda Douglas.
Linda.
Oh,
Oh.
sure. She's one of our first
last
graduates.
month.
She's our best
And-
cheerleader.
Yeah, she's
Yeah, she
great.
loves you guys.
And I was in the car with her on the ride home. I was like, "Could you just read me a bedtime story tonight?" Like, I
We'll
just
just
want to
record
hear you
it.
talk to me. It's just so calming, and I just want to lay here and just go to sleep. So,
You can
and you were
imagine.
singing for us earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was a little Sinatra, though, wasn't that what you were singing?
Yeah, I like Sinatra.
I do too.
Yeah.
Sinatra's really good.
I'm hoping to check out
But
one
this
of
is
the blues
Chicago,
clubs.
so you got to change. the
Blues
time.
or jazz?
What do you feel comfortable doing?
I quite like blues. You're a bit more jazzy, though, aren't you, Trisha?
I am.
We've only got one night spare, so I think it's going to have to be a blues
I
club.
think it'll be blues.
That'd be
Yeah.
blues.
Yeah.
The other
Interesting.
was reggae. That's not a favorite either. So
I'm not a reggae fan myself, except for when I'm just feeling happy in life. I do need a little bit of reggae.
I like reggae on the boat, or it's somewhere where there's a cocktail in my hand.
It's got to be sunny and a beach.
Yeah.
I feel like for reggae, which is not Chicago. Although there is a beach here. I don't know if you guys knew that.
we saw people on the beach yesterday
Yeah.
in bathing suits, even. And I'm from
it kind
Phoenix.
of
It
messes
was
me
cold.
up because I'm usually here in midwinter, and I was like, that lake doesn't stay frozen. I just assumed it was always frozen. There's boats in it right now. I can't believe it.
Looked like fun.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day in Chicago. They say I haven't been outside yet, but
Last week, I'll just tell you this. Last week I was in Berlin for a week. Great city.
Oh,
and
I wanna go.
they got lots of lakes, lots of swimming areas in the city itself. And we thought we'd go for a swim. Really hot temperatures. And we got down to the edge of the lake, and I think we were the only people who actually had a bathing costume on.
no.
The others were there to swim, but
As my wife
A little
described,
more
all their
freely.
bits and bobs hanging out.
A little more freely, letting them bob.
Oh, that's awesome.
So guess what we did?
Did you?
Did you join?
I said, did you become like everyone else?
We'll have to.
One in Rome.
We'll have to let everybody know on the next podcast, won't we?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the teaser.
Stay tuned. I like
That's
it. A
awesome.
little cliffhanger there. So,
What are we talking about today? We didn't really orchestrate this podcast very well, so
No.
I want to apologize to both of you.
I see some notes there in your hand, though.
Oh, these are just phone numbers
Oh,
for all the chicks that I'm picking up at this conference. Don't tell my wife.
she wouldn't
Total
care
secret.
anyway.
Yeah. I want to
She's
talk
so laid back.
about O'Hare University,
Yeah.
and I want to talk about updates and they just things and stuff and things. We have Tim here who works with you. We haven't really heard from Tim before.
yeah. Tim is one of the founders.
Do you mind if we get his maybe we'll start with him.
do?
Yeah.
Get
Tell
your
us things.
history. Tell us who you are.
Okay. I graduated in the Royal Air Force.
Nice.
Did you know the first hygienists in UK graduated in the Royal Air Force?
I didn't know
No.
that.
Yeah, so on the national badge we got the RAF wings.
Really?
Yeah, and there's people graduating today and they're wearing the badge and they don't know that it's the RAF wings are on the badge, which is a bit sad. But and that school closed about 5 years ago, which is really sad as well.
Wow.
Government cutbacks. So I was 22 years in the Air Force, travelled around the world, lived in lots of different countries, Cyprus, Germany, Holland, Falkland Islands, lots of bits of UK. And then what did I do then? I left and did some more studying, got myself a science degree, did a master's in education, and then bumped into Trisha. We were dragged together through the universe, weren't we?
Yeah, tell us
what
how
happened.
that happened.
Well, I was doing some work for Hygiene Town. Trisha at the time was editor of Hygiene Town, and I was doing some work on caries management for you, wasn't I? And then I bumped into you at the International Dental Hygiene meeting in Scotland.
In Glasgow.
And we did a ceilidh. Do you remember that?
Oh, we did, yes.
Do you guys know what a ceilidh is?
I was going to say, explain that.
Oh, it's a Scottish country dance.
Oh.
They have
Show us how that goes.
Yeah, we have a demonstration.
This is just an audio podcast. No one will see it but us. Yeah. I'll get my phone out real quick.
Imagine lots of fiddles playing.
Okay.
Yeah, a bit like your hoedown sort of thing.
Okay.
But Scottish.
I picture what
Scottish
was
showdown.
happening on the Titanic at the bottom, like in the movie, when the rich girl goes down and like with all the steer, and they're like getting down with the fiddles and stuff.
Yeah.
Is that kind of like that?
Yeah.
But Tim forgot to add that it was a formal party that we were at. And here he was in his tuxedo and his red Converse. Weren't they Converse?
Yeah, well, if you're going to dancing, you need the right shoes on, don't you?
He had the right shoes.
That's right.
Nothing says it like Converse. Red ones and a tux.
Yeah. Stand out.
And so Trisha says, Tim, I'm thinking of starting a university. Would you like to join me and help me do it?
That's kind of
Out
blunt.
there.
It's this
How's
really
that
big
sound to you?
undertaking.
Yeah.
We had the same philosophy. I thought it would work. Both had a lot of
the
experience.
philosophy that brought y'all together? Like, what was that similar philosophy?
It's a good question. I think we're both anti-disestablishment people, aren't we? We're kind of revolutionaries.
Yeah.
And if we don't like
Go
how
get the
things are
man.
going, we go out and change it.
And we always know when we're out in front by the arrows in our backs.
Right.
So it's a reminder we're still in front. So
Yeah. And I think at the time you were really, really fed up with the situation, weren't you, regarding associate's degrees and bachelor's in America. You can explain that a bit more.
well, and I had just studied Buteyko breathing and myofunctional therapy and was running into speech pathologists, audiologists, even PTs, and they all looked at me. I have my hygiene degree, I have a bachelor's and a master's, and they all looked at me and said, "You're a hygienist. That's a 2-year degree. You shouldn't be doing myofunctional therapy." And I'm thinking, yeah, but you don't even know what ankylosglossia is.
Right,
But
right.
and so I was really mad that they thought all hygienists had just 2 years of education. So I went back and looked at the curriculum for dental hygiene, and it matched up almost exactly with a master's degree in speech pathology.
Really?
A master's degree.
Just for the clinical side of it?
For the whole educational. When you look at when you look at dental hygiene, it's hasn't changed in 45 years. The entry degree,
Shocking.
and the clinical time hasn't changed, but the increase in lecture time has increased significantly. So that's why hygienists have to go 4 and 5 years to get an associate's degree. So that made me mad. And the degree completion programs didn't recognize all the credits because in a community college, they're lower division. In a university, they're upper division. But in dental hygiene and dentistry, it's unique. They're all the same courses. And it doesn't depend on the number. Because
you can't do local anaesthesia to a lower degree.
Right.
Can you?
Right,
You either
right.
make somebody numb or you don't. You can't. Right, in this one, we're going to make you a little bit numb because I'm
True.
not fully qualified.
That's true. There's no
I'm
like
just going to give you a drop of anesthesia
right, yeah.
in the right location.
So
no
it's
advanced
crazy.
degree for that.
No.
You know, yeah.
So because of that, it just made me mad that hygienists are being cheated out of the degree they should have been given. They've earned it, and they actually earned it back in 1945 as well, and now we're still fighting that. So that's why we think they should go right from their associate's degree into a master's program. And we've done some research, and the difference between the associate degree programs that we've looked at and the bachelor's degree program is less than 1 semester. How you look at it, it's between 7 credits and 13 credits or contact
I was
hours.
gonna say, I thought I was 15 short.
But you actually, a lot of the things you took, you weren't given full credit for.
Probably.
They devalue. And they devalue clinical courses by saying in one school they devalue it by 4. So for every 4 hours of clinic, you get 1 credit. When clinic actually is the much more difficult course to teach than a lecture course, which is 1 hour to 1 hour. And it's harder you have to put together all the information you've learned from many courses,
Right.
and you have to prepare for that. And that should actually be more than 1 hour to 1 credit. So when you look at all that, it's way over a master's degree
Wow.
for the number of hours in an associate's degree program. So that's what pushed us to say, let's recognize all those credits. And in a 6-month program, let's give them some skills that they aren't getting today that will make them a better clinician.
It took us about a year and a half to put the university together, make it completely non-paper, just completely virtual. And we sat down with some other people and talked about what we wanted, what our goals were, and our aim was really to make people healthy. That was our aim, and at the same time award hygienists what they deserve, and also try and create some sort of research, because hygienists don't do research. If they do research, it's usually in a laboratory helping other people with their research.
Right.
So we're kind of creating a pool of research that hygienists are creating in-house on their own patients, and making people healthier, finding different ways to make people healthier, and then getting the credit they deserve for it. And
so how much research do we have, would you say?
Well, it's growing, isn't it? We've got over 200 graduates now. Quite a lump of stuff already.
And they're each doing a research study?
Yeah.
Each one has to do an action
we kind of walk
research
them through it.
So can you talk more about the research project?
Yeah.
What are the requirements for it, and what qualifies, I guess, as topics to research?
Well, first of all, we start out by teaching them to learn more about themselves. So we do a lot of reflective thinking exercises and get them to understand how they tick as an individual. And then we kind of move on to kind of behavior change. We get them to learn how to change their own behavior, because if you can't change your own behavior, you can't change other people's behavior. And that is the hardest part for a lot of us, because a lot of, I should say it, a lot of hygienists don't do behaviour change very well with their patients. They have a little kind of guide that they go by, and they just issue the same advice to every patient that comes in the chair. And surprise, surprise, they don't get any results. And so we kind of make them look at themselves and dig into the dark, deep crevices of their minds. And we get them to write about themselves and do reflexive thinking. So we kind of like get them to move out of themselves into somebody else, looking back at themselves, to seeing themselves from somebody else's perspective. What impact am I having on the rest of my team, my patients, my nurse, and it can get quite interesting, can't it? And then when we've done that, and they've got the skills, we then allow them to look at their own practice and find something within their practice that isn't working very well, be that a patient or something, and then they have to make a change, a small change, and then they write about that formally, and we walk them through a process of action research, and then they write about it and present their findings. And recently we've started to get them to do a 2-minute presentation based on their whole research, where they're kind of presenting it on camera to the general public. So and we're just starting to put those on our website. They're quite good, aren't they?
They are, actually.
Yeah. This sounds like it's transformative for the person, because I can understand, as a hygienist, I feel like a lot of us are introverts. I feel like understanding why we are the way we are, and then having to do the work to try and figure out how to change certain parts about us, and then learning how to take that information and transfer it to someone else, and then be on camera for 2 minutes. That sounds like it's quite a journey for a lot of people.
It is.
And I think it's exactly what's missing from hygiene school.
Oh yeah.
From the school, like, how can we now take the physical skills that we just learned, the tactile sensitivity, and understand that that's not all that it is to be a hygienist. Somebody got real pissed off at me on Facebook like months ago, because I was like, I know. I was like, you could teach a monkey to scale. And they were like, that's just degrading like ours. I'm like, but truly, like, it's how we put the information together to make that change. Like, I can pop calculus off all day long, and what? So I'm like a calculus robot? Like, it's how you put it together that makes you a hygienist, or makes you good at it. It makes your patient successful. And I think that that's what we don't learn.
Right. We learn competencies. It's like having all the bits and pieces, like you'd said, Tim, earlier. If you can change a tire and you can do a few other things, but can you actually make the car run? And with hygienists, they learn how to hold the instruments, on how to do things, but they never get tested on whether or not their patient got healthier. And we don't look at that because hygienists work in dental offices where they need disease to stay in business. So there's
good
no
old disease repair model that we
It is, yeah.
One of the first exercises we do that's really funny is we get our students to go and ask 20 people. It's the first little bit of research they do. Ask 20 people, friends, family, dentists, fellow hygienists, this question. They're not allowed to, they've got to just listen to the answer. They're not allowed to say anything.
Oh.
And the question is dental disease preventable?
Ooh.
We get some really
interesting.
really
good answers.
We get them to kind of predict what they think the outcomes are going to be, and it's some of the responses are quite interesting from their dentists, especially.
Interesting.
And then for the research, I mean, is a part of the curriculum like appraising other research and like understanding where maybe they went wrong or what was maybe missing that now makes others poke at that research and say.
Yeah, we get them to do a literature review, so they have to do a bit of critical thinking and look at. Once they've chosen their topic, they have to read around it, obviously, and then do exactly what you just said, and then kind of that comes into the paper, and they're looking at their unique position within that.
So I think there's a fine line with research that I kind of flip-flop back and forth. I'm like, research, but then I'm like, when I go with other people that are like research, and I hear them like just tearing apart these studies, and I'm like, but are they kind of on the right track? Like, I know they didn't prove it, their sample size wasn't big, like blah, 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 but I mean, are they wrong? Like, can we apply this clinically and actually get some results from it? Like, but the research doesn't back it. But...
Well, if you look at research, we had the flossing saga last year, didn't we?
Just last year's, like my whole professional career is based on
exactly.
floss.
There is no evidence to suggest flossing works. I mean, do you see the results in your own practice? That's the question. And the problem is that we are driven by research, and now in this really awkward position now where, hang on a minute, the research actually doesn't say what we are finding in our own practices. And that's exactly where we are with action research. Once we start to get a pool of research together from hygienists all over the world doing similar research on similar topics, it suddenly becomes quite powerful.
Yeah.
If you're getting hundreds and hundreds of hygienists finding actually flossing does work or interdental cleaning does work, then or it doesn't work.
Or it doesn't work.
Yeah, you're going to get some results.
Well, that comes into that cognitive dissonance where you just have this like severe reaction to it. It's like it just rattled my core, and I don't know how to behave now. So you're going to go against it. I think that's at least, and I'm guilty of that a lot of times, but
that's our profession. That's our profession, and what we were taught in schools, what we believe. But what our students are finding is that they want to believe that, but then when you say, well, tell me how healthy are your patients, and they go, well, and how many are actually flossing effectively every day and preventing dental disease? Oh, they go, oh, well, maybe 5. I said 5%. No, maybe 5 people. So it's when they, and then this ties into what the graduates have said to us, that the best thing they got out of this program is that they learned to think differently to get different results. And it affects their whole lives. It's not just their patients, but interactions with other people, families, husbands, wives. So it's been interesting that way.
You look like you're about to say something.
I was just trying to get Edie to jump in on the podcast.
Oh, okay.
You don't want to do anything?
Shout out to Edie.
Edie, Ives in the background. I had a thought. No.
Can I just say something else that's really positive about our graduates?
We don't really do positive things.
Okay.
We don't do. Yeah.
One of our potential students asked us a question on Facebook last week, and they said, "Is this going to help me get out of my clinic by doing your degree?" And it's really interesting because we we're designing it because we want hygienists to become reinvigorated in what they're doing in practice.
Yeah, absolutely.
And but ironically, a lot of our graduates are leaving the clinic and going on and doing other things.
Really?
Because we're suddenly they're thinking differently.
Yes.
And you probably know quite a few of them. I mean,
Yeah.
we've had
But do you feel like, though, they're making a bigger impact, though, on the profession by leaving?
Yeah.
I mean,
possibly.
They could be imparting that knowledge into still the clinicians. You know, Linda comes to mind particularly. I mean, she speaks to lots and lots of active clinicians, you know, all the time with you know, her approach of things.
Well,
So-
what happens is they start setting different goals, and they start achieving goals instead of doing
eyes
the
are
same
open.
thing over and over again and not getting any results. They begin to open up, as you said, Tim, their thinking and their view, and it's quite exciting for us.
Yeah.
We weren't anticipating it, but
Do you get those types of questions a lot? Do you get questioning about how it's going to be helpful?
Yeah, and it all comes down to the individual. You have to throw it back because why do you want to do it?
Right.
What's your goal? You know, what's your motivation? And there's no right or wrong answers to that because everybody's different and they're all
Right.
coming from somewhere else. I mean, we've had a graduate, Jane Wiener. How old was she?
Jane was 70. She
yeah,
did it for her 70th birthday.
Yeah, so
my God.
Present to herself.
But she just
what I wanna
wanted the BS. You know,
Yeah.
fine, great. And she's one of our biggest fans, isn't she? So.
Wow.
What kind of obstacles have you guys run into as you start? I mean, even from the inception of the university, what kind of things are you guys running into that's been kind of a little bit tough to overcome?
Loads. Where do you want us to start?
Wherever.
I mean, it's like any new idea has always got. It's like always the first people that jump on and think this is great, and then I would say the vast majority of people don't do change, do they? And a lot of people feel threatened, especially people who've had to work really, really hard and to get a bachelor's and had to do loads and loads and loads of courses. None of them related whatsoever to dental hygiene and have no use whatsoever to them and have spent a fortune doing it.
Oh, my bachelor's was just busy work.
Yeah.
I don't think I can do anything with my bachelor's degree.
And
it's
it
a
How much do you
probably...
pay for that?
$25,000.
Yeah, exactly. And so you can understand people feeling, well, I've done this, I've spent $25,000, I've had to do all this, well, why aren't they doing it? And so there's that sort of element which you can understand.
Well, it's understandable. I
One
agree
of,
with that.
one of the big complaints is, this sounds too good to be true, that it's just $3,000 in 6 months. So Tim and I are thinking we should actually change it to $30,000.
Raise the price.
Yeah, maybe that'll be more acceptable.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and the other obstacle, of course, is accreditation.
Oh, yeah, that's a biggie.
Let's talk about that. What is the obstacle and what's the answer to it?
Well, essentially, you can't be accredited if you haven't got a bricks and mortar school.
Even in this day and
In
age,
the
when
United
everything's
States,
digital.
that's a rule.
Yep.
Okay.
Is
So
this a rule anywhere else?
I should imagine that's pretty much international.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you talk about bricks and mortar, do you mean that can you have like a central office that's brick and mortar, or do you have to have a place where the students can actually go and learn?
Yep. And so you've got to have a school.
Yeah.
Essentially. And if you have a school, then obviously that costs a lot of money, and so the prices have to go up hugely.
Right.
So we want to be completely virtual. I mean, this is the 21st century.
Right.
We're in.
That's what I don't understand.
Yeah. And that's how we intend to stay, and I think it's up to everybody else to catch up with us. And Trisha, you are an expert on accreditation. It's an old boys network, isn't it?
It's totally, and it's controlled by the brick and mortar schools. It's actually not so much an old boys network as a cartel, like a drug cartel, because they control the money, and the only reason schools now are accredited is if you are accredited in the regional accrediting body, and by the way, they accredit each other, and it's all.
So there's no like one overseeing all of them?
No, they do accredit each other in the group, and
Interesting.
and you can't ask what their outcomes are. You just have to say, well, did you set some goals for your school, and did you accomplish those goals? And let me count the books in your library, and how many PhDs do you have on faculty? Oh, and by the way, how much is in the bank? And those are the questions of accreditation. It's all related to getting federally funded student loans. And that's what it's tied to. But the big problem with that is they get a lot of money from the federal student loan program, but they don't ever have to answer for, well, how many of those people actually graduated? And how many can graduate and actually earn enough to pay the loan? So, and it's all closed. And education is the last bastion that does not want the internet, does not want technology. So they know that programs like ours would reduce the cost and would be set up so that you could get the best instructor you want. You don't have to, and students don't have to do repeat all the same courses in every school when you can do it online. If you have to take physics 101, 102, 103, you can get the best physics instructor ever. But they don't, that cuts into their model. So what they've done to combat that is they have online programs. All the brick and mortar schools do now.
That's what my master's was.
Right, and they charge more for an online program than an on-campus program because they see it as a way to make money. They don't see the other side, and they're fighting this as hard as they can. Every other business has embraced the internet and technology to reduce the price and open the access, but not education. It's the last.
It's kind of funny because it's like there's a lot of themes to this podcast interviews this whole time, because I mean we were just talking to Sarah and like the whole CE Zoom thing and looking at the education continuing ed for us and how it's kind of an ass backward system, and then you hear like this, but no one's holding anybody accountable because they're all holding each other accountable, and nobody wants to touch that.
And so they don't want anyone to come into this closed cartel that isn't like they are. You have to be like they are because they set the rules. Mm-hmm. So it will change, but we're just a little too early.
Yeah.
So that's the only obstacle, truly, like the brick and mortar.
Mm-hmm.
So
for us. Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I didn't ask this, I'd hate myself. So why don't you try and figure? I mean, I understand that prices, costs would go up, but was there a way to do it on such a small scale, because it is for dental hygiene as it is for whatever, that you could have literally a classroom running out of someone's house type thing? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No,
I'm shaking my head, by the way, for the people listening.
The audio podcast.
No, it'd be just people will have to come and inspect the premises.
They will count the books in your library and your handicap parking places.
So it's not necessarily anything to do with the curriculum?
No, they never look at the curriculum. Do you know that no dental hygiene degree completion program is accredited directly? None. They don't look at curriculum, because the only way they look at curriculum is specialty accreditation, and that is what we have for dental hygiene and dentistry and law, because those careers or study lead to a license, and so you have to have those requirements for a license. English, there's no accreditation directly. Dental hygiene degree completion program, none.
So it doesn't come down to what you're teaching.
No, not at all.
It's just where you're teaching.
It's the institution that is being accredited so that they can be responsible for taking federally funded student loans. It has nothing to do with the quality of education. It may have in the 1700s, but the quality of education you're going to find out on the internet by asking people what people say about schools.
I've also got a hidden agenda as well, in that I'm a bit of an environmentalist, and I don't want to have people driving to university, and that's being completely virtual means our carbon footprint is zero. So, and that's the future of education.
Yeah.
I mean, it costs a fortune as well. You imagine one university when everybody's driving to get there, running the place. The amount of
just in the place that Mike and I went to, the college, they took a whole block, demolished they bought all the homes, they bought all the lots, demolished it for a parking lot for all the cars to go that way. They weren't building new buildings out there. They were just extending their parking.
Wow. And also what our students don't learn in the classroom. They learn during their clinical day of practice or whatever their work is, because the work that they're doing for their bachelor's degree occurs during their workday in their reflective practice and observation and interaction with people. So it's a totally different mindset that you have to sit in a room and be lectured to learn.
It's very antiquated.
But we do see our students. We have 5 in a class usually, and it's all video conferencing, and we meet for an hour each week and talk about what the work is that they've done, and questions, and share experiences. And it's often people from all over the world in the class.
Yeah, they get a lot of unexpected outcomes from that. Like when you're in a class with somebody from Saudi Arabia and Australia and UK and Switzerland and the United States, Canada, and they're kind of learning about the different cultural aspects of their own practices and discovering what's similar and what isn't similar, and and they make a lot of friends as well, don't they? Yeah,
they
we're having a little soiree here on Friday for all our graduates getting together.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
You can come too and meet our graduates.
Would you let us?
Absolutely. Friends of O'Hare University.
Yeah, add it to our party list. Look at Mike taking notes back there.
Yeah. So we need to wrap up here pretty quick. I had a really good question.
Wait, what's the announcement though?
Tim, would you like to make the announcement?
We've spent months and months creating a master's program, and which we are going to be starting in January 2018, and it's going to be completely unique in that we are creating a model for hygienists to take what they're currently doing in the clinic environment and moving it into a different environment.
But no scalers and curettes.
No. And it's going to be generating a new business model. So there'll be a lot of business, a lot of marketing, a lot of learning to do something different in a different environment. So by the end of it, they're going to be set up, ready to go with a different business.
Interesting.
As an oral health coach.
As an
Oral health coach.
We're going to eliminate dental disease. Hygienists are the best people to do that, and if they are let loose, we will be able to end dental disease.
ADA is going to kill you.
Oh, bring it on.
That's going to be the title of this one. Bring it on, ADA.
Yeah.
Can you just imagine them trying to stop hygienists, or in the UK, hygienists, from prevent dental disease, and the headline will say, "Dentists don't want disease prevented." Who's going to win that argument?
Dentists don't want hygienists to be more educated.
Well, that's true.
I'm reading Teeth, the book by Mary Otto right now, and it's just like the history of all of this and the lawsuits and the legislation between the ADA and the Federal Trade Commission and all of that. And I'm like, it makes it like I was on the plane. I was like, I want to scratch the eyes out of all these idiot dentists. Like, sorry, not all of them, just the ones that were like in the old days when they were like, you're not smart enough to figure out. Well, like, even when you look back, like, old Forsyth, like, where they tried to do the dental therapist, like...
the Rotunda study.
And, like, you're just... What? You don't think... I'm not. I need to stop, because I'll digress completely.
A little bit.
Passion's good.
She's got plenty
I got a lot of it.
We just got to channel that passion for good and not evil.
Exactly. All right.
We'll get her signed up to you already have a master's, so.
I do. I said I wanted to go through the course.
I think you'd enjoy
I think I would too.
the focus and the approach we
I don't
take.
know if I want to like do self-reflection or not. I'm really good.
And it
scares me.
Business oriented.
Yeah, the business side, but it is something that I need to know. I don't want to know. I don't like it, but I need to know it and understand it, and appreciate it, and even just being with Tepe on this side of it, I've gained so much knowledge, and now my position as a hygienist is not so much like, well, put it on the shelves. Why can't you make this? Why can't you do this? Like I'm like, oh. It ain't so easy to do R&D and have the research and the retail and the legacy brands and all of that. Like, it's been really eye-opening. I don't want to deal with it, but I have to now.
But it is interesting. It gives you a whole new perspective.
It really does.
But it also opens up your thinking to look at other options. If that road is closed, if there's a dead end there, you can go around it. Or if there's a blockade, go around it and figure out
it
other
out.
ways. It's a fun challenge to go, okay, I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm not going to let the idiots get me down and get around
again,
them.
I think a theme of this is like you're gonna get knocked down. You are. Like if you're doing anything that's outside of the box or progressing or going against the grain, you're gonna get knocked down, and it's.
Have people tried to knock you down? Do you have arrows in your backs too?
Us personally,
Probably.
one big giant company hates us.
Yeah. There's probably a few people that
hate Michelle
us.
personally, but I mean, people like
They
me.
love you, don't they,
I'm a
Andrew?
pretty nice guy, I think.
Everyone does love Andrew, and I'm the one that just stirs the pot all the time.
Yeah. Before we end, though, can I ask one more quick follow-up question about the Masters? Because who are the people that are going to be able to apply for that program? What kind of degree should you already have? Any other bachelors, and then going into this program, or is it specific to something?
Trisha's looking at me. With people who have our bachelors, they're going to take precedent because so we're going to look at letting them get first dibs to go through. And obviously, anyone who's got a bachelor's degree, of course, if you've got a bachelor's degree, you can do a master's degree. And but as Trisha was saying, if you've got an associate's degree, you've almost got a master's anyway.
Right. That's true.
That's crazy. I've never actually looked at the curriculum and the numbers of hours and compared it to other.
Oh, it's fascinating when you put it in a spreadsheet. Once the article's published, can I come back and we'll talk about it?
Yes.
Did you ask him about that?
I mean, like,
whatever you
I don't
want.
think we
Every
could
week
say
you
yes
can be
fast
on.
enough.
That's fine with me.
Thank you. This is an honor to be on your podcast. I'm thrilled. I love what you guys are doing. You've created a whole new avenue for people to learn and meet people and not just read articles. So kudos to you both.
Thank you.
Information. I'll just say, before I answer, I was just thinking that the people that are kind of listening to this have no idea actually what's physically going on in this room at the moment of this. They can't see us.
Right.
So I ought to explain to the people who are listening that Michelle is actually sitting on Andrew's lap at the moment.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, and don't knock over your wine glass.
This is just how she's comfortable.
They know that would never happen. I'd be like, Andrew, go get my wine.
I thought I'd be offered wine. No wine.
Listen, I
It's
finish
too
most of
early.
the time at
It's
least.
too early.
It's like, it's too early?
For wine.
So yeah, to answer your question,
I don't know if there's
www.o'hareuniversity.com.
Oh, thank you for getting
And
back to
O'Hare
that.
is spelled Ohehir.
Yeah.
The old Gaelic spelling. Pronounced like the airport O'Hare, but it's the old Gaelic spelling.
We'll put that in the show notes too, so people just click on the link. And
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Any email addresses or anything if they want to chat with you?
They can get everything
Off of there.
there and our Facebook page.
Yes. Okay. Very good. Well, thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was
Pleasure.
fun.
Again.
Yeah.
Have you on.
It's great to be in a room with all you US guys.
Yeah.
It's so different. Can you imagine if he was in UK?
Yeah.
We want to be in
Well,
the
yeah,
UK.
let's work that out. Let's
We're doing Euro Pair
let us
next
not-
year.
Oh, doing
so
Amsterdam.
are we. We were just
Yeah.
talking about
brilliant.
I'm sorry, in where?
Amsterdam.
Amsterdam.
No, Amsterdam.
Amsterdam.
Put the emphasis on
Great
the
city.
back end of it.
Great city.
Yeah, that's the goal.
That's our goal.
Are you going to be there?
that. Yes, we'll be there too.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, well, we're going to need to line up some interviews, so maybe you guys can help us with some of your colleagues that are.
Oh, how many do you want? We can give you
We
lots.
had 18 planned for this conference.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we can get you
I want to
18
take
for
courses
that.
there, though. There's a difference.
Oh crap! Yeah, we're going to do courses, and we're probably going to have a room to do it. We'll figure it out.
We'll
But
figure it out. We'll make it work.
awesome.
But
Thank
thanks
you.
again, guys.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
appreciate this.
It's been
Yeah.
great fun.
Listeners, I want to tell you a story I found on the web, which makes this Scaling the Web with Andrew. Okay, so this week on Scaling the Web with Andrew, we have an article from Time.com entitled "A Chinese Robot Has Performed the World's First Automated Dental Implant." And this was from September 22nd, 2017. It says robots could soon be operating on you by themselves at the dentist clinic. In China,
A robot dentist installed 2 dental implants for a woman last Saturday in what could be the world's first fully automated dental implant surgery, reports the South China Morning Post. Human doctors supervised the whole procedure but did not actively intervene. The surgery, which took place in the city of Xi'an, was first reported by the state-run Science and Technology Daily. According to the report, the robot followed a set of pre-programmed commands to install the dental implants. Experts said that the implants were fitted with a margin of error of 0.2 to 0.3 millimeters, matching the standards required for this type of procedure, reports the Post. Robots can safely conduct dental surgeries like implantations with more accuracy and agility in the narrow space of the oral cavity, according to the dental experts cited by the Science and Technology Daily. Dentistry has increasingly enlisted the help of robots, notes the Post, with robot usage increasingly common in the orthodontic procedures and root canal surgeries, as well as in student training. Yomi, a robot system designed to assist dentists in dental implant procedures, was approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration in March. And that's the end of the article. It's a really short article, but you dentists are so scared about dental therapists, and you guys have your eye off the ball. It looks like robots are going to take your job. So you guys got to start lobbying for anti-robots and anti-progression, anti-machines. Get after it.
It's about that time. Grab your blanket and a glass of wine. It's story time with Michelle.
Storytime with Michelle is in honor of our guest, Trisha O'Hare. This is an article that is a little bit older than some that I usually find. It's from 1998, but it's from JADA, and it is written by Miss Trisha O'Hare and Jean Suvan. This is about dry brushing lingual surfaces first, and this is an older article, but it still reigns true. It's something I teach my patients all the time. It's something I do personally. It has been extremely effective for a lot of my patients. And the one patient that always comes into mind was a previous doctor's husband who was always just kind of a mess and hated to do all the things that I was asking him to do. And I changed this one thing, and literally his mouth changed. It was amazing. So this is a very short and quick article, so I'll get right into it. Mandibular lingual surfaces demonstrate greater accumulations of both hard and soft deposits and more bleeding on probing than other areas of the mouth. Despite these findings, standard toothbrushing focuses little or no attention on this area. Toothbrushing instructions focus primarily on the relationship of the bristles to the teeth and gingival tissues, as well as on the direction of the brushing stroke, with no mention made of where to start or the order in which the teeth should be brushed. Using videotape, Rugg-Gunn and McGregor found that most adults and children followed an erratic pattern, brushing maxillary facial surfaces first, returning there several times, and brushing lingual surfaces last, if at all. Reported toothbrushing times ranged from 20 to 85 seconds, with most people brushing less than 1 minute. Dentists and hygienists have dealt with the problem by simply telling patients to brush the inside of the bottom teeth first. Despite unpublished reports of success, there has been no research to support this concept, so a pilot study was designed. 29 private practice dental hygienists across the United States tested this idea with a total of 126 patients during recall appointments. Baseline data included bleeding on probing and calculus scores based on measurements of the lingual surfaces of mandibular teeth. A measure of 0 to 4 was used for both indices. The examiners instructed patients to alter their brushing routine by brushing the inside of their bottom teeth first with a dry toothbrush, that is, no water and no toothpaste. When their mouths felt clean and tasted clean, patients rinsed their brushes with water and brushed again with the toothpaste. The examiners recorded the bleeding and calculus scores again at the patient's next recall visit, an average of 6 months later. The authors analyzed the data using the Wilcoxon signed rank test, which revealed a statistical significance of p greater than 0.0001, reduction in bleeding and calculus scores. Mean bleeding scores were reduced 55% overall, and mean calculus scores were reduced 58% of all mandibular lingual surfaces and 63% for the anterior section alone. Notes from the examiners indicated that patients reported brushing longer than usual with the new approach. Some patients were so excited by the results that they made unscheduled visits to the dental office to point out their lack of calculus and improve gingival health. The simple instructions give them produce statistical and clinical significant results. That is huge and is absolutely what I have experienced on an anecdotal level. So it's always nice to have these little pilot studies. Sadly, we don't have a lot of these studies and longer studies because, well, we don't have a lot of money to throw at it, and not everyone gets excited about brushing technique. I wish this topic was a little bit more fun and sexy, and researchers and companies wanted to throw money at that. But most of the time, toothbrush companies have toothpaste, and they want to tell you to brush with toothpaste and a whole lot of it. But when you really think about it, and Trisha also has other reports out there talking about how foamy those toothpastes can be, and patients just want to get it out of their mouth. So we actually kind of decrease our brushing time because we just have all this going on. Not to mention sometimes the flavoring gives almost a numbing feeling, and it's a little overpowering. So you tend to just want to be done with it and not brush as long as you really should. So the next time that you have patients, they're just getting excessive amounts of buildup, give this a try. I think you should just give this a try no matter what and see how it works for them. It's going to be weird at first. It's going to be different, but she makes an excellent point, is the fact that we have been talking about the Bass technique and bristles at a 45-degree angle, but we don't talk about where to start and how long to stay there a lot of times. And patients almost always go to the easy spots and to the same spot every single time, and brush erratically, always. So let's give it a try. I hope you enjoyed this episode with Trisha O'Hare and Tim Ives. We do appreciate you always listening in and downloading these episodes. I know I sound like a broken record, but please continue to tell your friends, share these episodes, share it on Facebook. That is our current marketing plan, and we appreciate your help. You can always email us at ataleoftwohygienists@gmail.com or give us a Facebook message. We love to interact with you. Thanks for coming up to us at conferences. Thanks for sending in your questions. We really, really do appreciate all the times that we have been able to meet with you and take pictures. We do always appreciate your iTunes reviews because that really does matter where we fall in this iTunes world. And keep supporting us, and we hope you continue to enjoy and learn with this podcast. Thanks again. Bye, y'all. Yeah, record that.
I'm leaving today.
Oh, mic's on.
Oh, man.
Oh, too bad.
You missed it. Look at you singing.
That was a pretty good voice.
How do you like
A
our...
little Sinatra.
Oh, look at you. Don't ask me to do
I haven't
this.
heard about the hygienist meetup. I want to know. It's a secret. What do you know?
What hygienist meetup?
The hygienist meetup.
Oh, I can't say it. Is there a hygienist meetup?
I don't know what you're talking about.
There's a hygienist meetup? Where?
She wants to be in this.
Where?
I don't know what you're talking
I was
about.
recruiting guy hygienists. I was at the Mission of Mercy, and this guy hygienist he's in my study club, and I'm like, do you go to these meetings? Are you and Mr. RDH? Like, you need to hang out.
You need to be doing
like,
this.
Come on,
Yeah.
you gotta. He said he's gonna. His name is Adam.
I'm texting Raphael
Yeah,
right
tell
now.
Raphael.
No, and I don't.
What?
He's on the web. He's a member of.
There may or may not have been a video in a secret Facebook group
Oh.
for Mr. RDH. What? You're not in the group. You're not allowed to know these things.
Makes me so mad.
But I mean, if you became a dude, like,
If you listen to
yeah.
Cassandra, you could do this.
Yeah?
Are you really listening to the podcast?
Of course I am.
This is blowing my mind a little bit. Why would you listen to the podcast?
I
feel like you have better things to do in life.
Yeah, really.
Michelle and Andrew right there with me for a
Oh
while.
my gosh.
It's my radio station.
Are you screaming at me half the time? Like, Andrew, you're so dumb. Why are you saying those things? Because I feel like I say a lot
I think
of
people
things
scream at me to be
that
nicer
are
to you.
not scientifically based. I'm like, this is my thought. This is what I see. But whatever. Okay.
I just keep...
You just take yourself off into your bathroom, don't you? Do your mantras. I am happy. I am happy.
That was the sugar lecture.
The sugar lecture.
Well, should we kick off this podcast?
Yeah, I think probably.
I thought we had.
Well, no one's talking to their mic, so we should probably.
We have to.
Gotta pick these guys.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
This is why I think we should have the Yeti sometimes.
Well, the Yeti sucks.
I have it.
Yeah, it blows.
What's the Yeti?
It's a crappy audio
It's
thing.
not a crappy. I mean, it does pick up a
It's
lot
like
of background noise, but it's one that you could put in the middle and it would pick up all of us. But it's going to pick up.
All of the echoing. But this is going to be like just my voice right here. It might pick up a little bit of your voice too, but it'll be like just Andrew, blah,
I know,
blah, blah,
right?
blah.
He's like Barry White just entered the
Well,
room.
I don't want to talk like this. It's really high.
Right?
It's really. I just got quiet is all. When I get quiet, it goes a little bit deeper, and that's actually true because when you play instruments and you put more air through it, it goes higher pitched, and less air through it is a lower pitch.
These are things I just really don't want
So-
to know. All right, you're leading
didn't
it
know
in,
that?
by the way.
Was it just like the lobster thing that you taught us?
Is this on?
Yes.
Yes.
Wait, is what on? Yeah, it's on. Yeah, you can talk into it though.